Earth's magnetic field is fraught with hazards. Explosions of these auroras over our poles. This is what new revelations show. This is the Earth weather that we're having. We know that every time we have solar energy, solar conditions that affect our atmosphere, a coronal mass ejection, we have an increase in our northern lights, the aurora borealis and the southern lights, of course. We have this magnetic explosion on Earth's doorstep. There are explosions in Earth's magnetic field. Yes, that's what they found. And they happen all the time. This is according to space weather. Gusts of solar wind press against the Earth's magnetosphere. They squeeze the lines of the magnetic force together, and the lines crisscross and reconnect. They literally explode at that point, and they propel high-energy particles towards Earth. The auroras are the afterglow of this process. On December 20th, 2015, such an explosion occurred closer to Earth than anyone had seen before. It has taken researchers 4 years to fully wrap their minds around what happened, why it happened. And the results were published this week, January 13, 2020, in the edition of Nature Physics. The lead author was Vasilis Angelopoulos of UCLA, and he says that usually these explosions happen at least 100,000 miles from our Earth, far downstream in our planet's magnetic tail. But on December 20th, 2015, however, we observed a reconnection event only 30 miles away, more than 3 times closer than normal. It was a case of good luck and perfect timing. NASA's swarm of these 3 Themis spacecraft were passing through that area, so they were able to pinpoint the explosion's location right on the doorstep of the geosynchronous satellite belt, and this showed reconnection events that may pose a previously overlooked threat to Earth-orbiting satellites. The nearby blast caused a strong G2 class geomagnetic storm and intense auroras around the Arctic Circle. Now, what is a G2 class geomagnetic storm? The impacts are these, according to space weather. Power systems. High-altitude power systems may experience voltage alarms. Long-duration storms may cause transformer damage. Spacecraft operations. Corrective actions to orientation may be required by ground control. Possible changes in drag effect orbit predictions. And other systems. HF radio propagation can fade at higher latitudes, and aurora has been seen as low as New York and Idaho, typically 55 degrees geomagnetic latitude. So they're stronger, and of course they can be observed a lot lower. So this nearby blast caused the geomagnetic storm G2 class and intense auroras around the Arctic Circle. Angelopoulos estimated the energy involved, the explosion and the subsequent storm, delivered as much as 88 petajoules, that's 88 times 10 to the 15 joules of energy, to the near-Earth environment. So that's more than 10 times the energy of the largest U.S. nuclear bombs and about 20 times the energy of a magnitude 7 earthquake. 20 times more. Now, before this event, many researchers felt that reconnection at such proximity, so close to our Earth, was impossible. Earth's nearby magnetic field was too stable for such explosions, or so they thought. Angelopoulos says, now we know better. The Themis multi-point observations are ironclad. It really happened, and this is going to make a big impact on future studies of our geomagnetic storms. And according to the newly published joint study by Rice University physicists and researchers at the Applied Physics Laboratory, Johns Hopkins University, auroras and satellite function might be impacted by these bubbles in the plasma enveloping our Earth. The vibrations that solar wind visibly creates within Earth's protective magnetic shield is our magnetosphere, whereas hardly any movement could be detected on the outer part of our shell, this shell, as the solar wind's charged particles roll off like water droplets from an oily surface. In the inner layers, the solar wind causes turbulence and therefore complex effects known as waves, etc. To map these oscillations, or the ripples and waves, researchers used a specially created algorithm referred to as the Rice convection model, or Gamera, named after the Japanese monster that bears the same name. The method, which Rice officials said is decades in the making, helped register the ripples moving like a plucked guitar string that's in almost no time returns to equilibrium. This is according to Frank Tofeletto, space plasma physicist at Rice University. He's the lead author of this new study published in the mid-December journal JGR Space Physics. The low-frequency waves that are responsible for these fluctuations are dubbed eigenmodes, have not been studied at length yet, but constitute the intriguing subject of analysis because they appear to be associated with dynamic disruptions to the magnetosphere. As the highly energized electrons were detected by weather satellites in near-Earth orbiting following the storm and accelerating to high energies. The later caused not only stunning auroras to shine from the polar skies and other beautiful sights, but likewise disruptions to satellite and even power grids on Earth, as we said, the recent G2 solar storm, the geomagnetic storm. Some such events have even gone down in history. For instance, the moment in 1921 when solar storms disrupted telegraph communications and caused outages that led to a New York City train station catching fire. Separately, according to the new study published in journal Nature Physics, the electron acceleration may pose a danger to the hundreds of satellites moving in near-Earth orbit, as well as human DNA, according to the statements. It's not just machines, it's also living things, especially our human DNA. And this is the example of the magnetic reconnection, as you can see. That is the little diagram of where the satellite was. Artist rendering of the Earth's magnetosphere during a magnetic storm. At right, 3 Themis satellites, you can see them right there, witnessed reconnection in the magnetotail surprisingly close to geosynchronous orbit where many other crucial satellites reside. The reconnection site is denoted by the red X, as you can see right there, generating explosive outflows of energized particles towards and away from Earth with the yellow arrows showing Earth directed electrons red and pink, carry energy along magnetic field lines to power the aurora at Earth's north and south poles. These energized electrons were detected by the GOES Weather Satellite Center, and this is by Emmanuel Masson, UCLA EPSS. This is on Sputnik News. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.